قال المؤلف رحمه الله, said the author, may Allah have mercy upon him. So this is the original text. القسم الأول البدعة الحسنة. The first category is the good innovation. وتسمى السنة الحسنة, and it is called the good sunnah, a good way. وهي المحدث الذي يوافق القرآن والسنة. And it is the innovation that agrees with, that complies with the Quran and the Sunnah. وَالْقِسْمُ الثَّانِي الْبِدْعَةُ السَّيِّئَةُ. And the second division is the bad innovation. وَتُسَمَّى السُّنَّةَ السَّيِّئَةُ. And it's called a bad way. وَهِيَ الْمُحْدَثُ الَّذِي يُخَالِفُ الْقُرْآنَ وَالْحَدِيثِ. And it is the innovation that opposes the Quran and the Hadith. So here the Shaykh categorized innovation into two categories. And he made the good innovation the first category and the bad innovation the second category. And that complies with the Hadith that we're going to read here. The Prophet ﷺ, he mentioned the good innovation and then he mentioned the bad innovation. But when the scholars of the creed say innovation, when they said this is a bid'ah, or when they said huwa mubtadi', he's an innovator, the first meaning for them was a bad innovation, because they meant heretic in particular. He's a heretic. He's unorthodox one. This is a bid'ah. This is unorthodoxy. وهذا التقسيم مفهوم أيضا من حديث جرير بن عبد الله البجلي. And this categorization is understood also not only from the hadith of Aisha that we mentioned already, but from this hadith of Jarir ibn Abdullah Al-Bajali that we just mentioned half of it. Radiyallahu anhu, may Allah accept from him. قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. He said, the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, من سن في الإسلام سنة حسنة فله أجرها وأجر من عمل بها بعده من غير أن ينقص من أجورهم شيء. Anyone who paves in Islam a good path, then its reward is his, and the reward of anyone who practices it after him, without diminishing any of their rewards. وَمَنْ سَنَّ فِي الْإِسْلَامِ سُنَّةً سَيِّئَةً. And anyone who paves in Islam an evil path, كَانَ عَلَيْهِ وِزْرُهَا. Then its sin is upon him. وَوِزْرُ مَنْ عَمِلَ بِهَا مِنْ بَعْدِهِ. And the sin of anyone who practices it after him. مِنْ غَيْرِ أَنْ يَنْقُصَ مِنْ أَوْزَارِهِمْ شَيْءٍ. Without diminishing any of their sins. Rawahu Muslim. Muslim narrated it. Ash-SharH. So now's the explanation, which is, the name of this book is Ash-SharH Al-Qaweem. This is the explanatory book of As-Sirat Al-Mustaqim. الدليل القرآني على أن البدعة منها ما هو حسن. He says the explanation, the evidence, the Quranic evidence that some innovation is good is this ayah that the Shaykh is going to mention for you. I want you to notice the Shaykh's style here. So, As-Sirat Al-Mustaqim, if you haven't studied just the text only, then study it. The translation is available. So you can look at just the matn without the explanation. That helps you to compress the information. Then, if you've understood the text of As-Sirat Al-Mustaqim, then look at how the Shaykh explains it. His explanation of As-Sirat Al-Mustaqim in many spots is like continuation. Usually, when you explain a text, you say the author said, and then you start to pull apart the author's words. So you say, when the author said this, it means this, and when he said this, it means this. And he does do that in this book. But if you notice, a lot of the explanation of As-Sirat Al-Mustaqim is not returning to the matn to unravel it for you, but really a lot of it is building on it, giving you more. It's like expansion of As-Sirat Al-Mustaqim. Right now, he just said in the text, the first division is the good innovation, and you can call it such and such. It's defined as such and such. The second division is the bad innovation. You can call it such and such. It's defined as such and such. And this is understood from this hadith that mentions the two types of innovations. Muslim narrated it. So that's the matn there. So then he says, Ash-SharH, the explanation. So you might be expecting that he's going to come back right now and explain these words right here. But what did he do? He actually gave you more information. He didn't go back. He gave you more information right here. He says the Quranic evidence in the explanation, the Quranic evidence for innovation, that innovation, some of it is good. Qawluhu ta'ala is what God Almighty said, وَجَعَلْنَا فِي قُلُوبِ الَّذِينَ اتَّبَعُوهُ رَأْفَةً وَرَحْمَةً وَرَهْبَانِيَّةً ابْتَدَعُوهَا مَا كَتَبْنَاهَا عَلَيْهِمْ إِلَّا ابْتِغَاءَ رِضْوَانِ اللَّهِ. And we put in the hearts of those who followed Jesus compassion and mercy and monasticism that they innovated. We did not ordain it upon them, that monasticism. They only did it seeking the acceptance of Allah. So that's innovation. That's evidence for good innovation. The Wahhabi is going to somehow try to explain that doesn't mean good innovation. What I know the standard Wahhabi answer for this ayah to be is that this is not for the nation of Muhammad. We are the nation of Muhammad, meaning not that he denies that this proves good innovations, but that he's going to deny that it's applicable to the nation of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He's basically saying this is abrogated. Now, in his saying it's abrogated, though, is a confirmation that it's possible that there's a good innovation in the religion. And that's really against his creed. He really believes that any good innovation in the religion is actually impossible. It doesn't even make sense. If you want to understand what does Wahhabi understand from bid'ah, you have to understand that in his mind is impossible that there could be something that's called good bid'ah in religion. So just to say that this is abrogated means he would have to confirm that for them it was such thing as a good innovation. Then he'd have to confirm that it's possible that there's good innovation in religion. I don't think he will confirm that. But if he does, then okay. Well, you're wrong to say that this is innovated. I'm sorry. You're wrong to say that this is abrogated, because here's the hadiths for you. Why are you fighting this so hard? And you right now are saying that it is possible that Allah reveals permission for good innovations in some sharia. So the fact is that it is revealed in the sharia and the sacred law of Muhammad too, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It's not abrogated. ففي هذه الآية مدح المؤمنين من أمة عيسى. In this verse is praise of the believers from the nation of Jesus. لأنهم كانوا أهل رحمة ورأفة. The praise is apparent here because they were people of mercy and compassion. So it doesn't say, for example, Allah created in their hearts villainy and wretchedness. They are praised because they were people of mercy and compassion. وَلِأَنَّهُمْ ابْتَدَعُوا الرَّهْبَانِيَّةَ, and because they innovated, and they are praised because they innovated monasticism. وهي الانقطاع عن الشهوات المباحة زيادة على تجنب المحرمات. The monasticism is cutting off permissible desires in addition to avoiding the prohibitions. حتى إنهم انقطعوا عن الزواج. They even refrain from marriage. So I wonder if that's where the Catholics got some of their extreme rules about marriage. If they perverted some of this, like that their priests can't get married, and that in particular, saying their priests can't get married. So this is very harmful. وَتَرَكُوا اللَّذَّائِذ مِنَ الْمَطْعُومَاتِ وَالثِّيَابِ الْفَاخِرَةِ. And they abandoned the delicious things, whether food or fancy clothing. وَأَقْبَلُوا عَلَى الْآخِرَةِ إِقْبَالًا تَامًّا. And they dedicated themselves to the afterlife completely. They made their focus, they made their life goal and focus preparation for the afterlife completely. So that means they were monks. فقوله تعالى ما كتبناها عليهم إلا ابتغاء رضوان الله. We did not ordain it for them. When God said this ayah, that means we did not ordain it for them. We did not ordain it for them. They only did it seeking the acceptance of Allah. فيه مدح لهم. This makes them praiseworthy. This praises them. على ما ابتدعوا, for what they innovated. So right here, subhanallah, if the Wahhabi's best answer for this is that that's abrogated, he doesn't really even see how much that destroys everything he's saying. Well, he thinks it's proving his point. Why is destroying everything he's saying? Because really his conviction is that good innovation is impossible. على ما ابتدعوا أي مما لم ينص لهم عليه في الإنجيل. This praises them for what they innovated that was not documented for them in the Injil. ولا قال لهم المسيح بنص منه. Nor did Jesus say it to them in one of his hadiths. He didn't say to them, افعلوا كذا, practice this. إنما هم أرادوا المبالغة في طاعة الله تعالى. Rather, they wanted to exert effort in the obedience of God. Exalted is He. So this is something that the nation of Jesus had. Subhanallah, it's interesting that Yahya, he was like that. Prophet Yahya at the time of Jesus, he had compassion and mercy, and he was like that, and he didn't get married. He used to like to stay out, away from the people, and he would cry a lot. And he didn't have a home. He didn't own a home. And his clothing wasn't stitched. Either it was wool or it was some fur. His clothing was some wool or some fur. Alayhi salatu wassalam. وَالتَّجَرُّدَ لِطَاعَتِهِ. And they wanted to, what's the word here? Yani, they wanted to isolate themselves. There's a word. They wanted to isolate themselves so to worship God. You know, if you know the word I'm looking for, give it to me, please. If somebody goes out away, for some retreat, like what he might call spiritual retreat. بترك الانشغال بما يتعلق بالزواج ونفقة الزوجة والأهل. Seclusion. Yeah, that's exactly it. Seclusion. They went into seclusion. التجرد لطاعته. They would go into seclusion. And they, to abandon, or they would practice this monasticism by going into seclusion and abandoning distractions. The distractions related to marriage and spousal support and supporting the family. Although that's a worship when a person corrects his intention. But they didn't want to get involved in that. And some scholars were like that, and they never got married. They were too interested in the knowledge and the worship. They were more interested in that than in women. And there were some women like that too. ثم هؤلاء الذين مدحهم الله كانوا من أتباع عيسى على الإسلام. Furthermore, those whom God praised, they were amongst Jesus's followers upon Islam. مع التمسك بشريعة عيسى, holding fast to the Sharia of Jesus, if you want to use that accent there. The Sharia. Some people might say the Sharia. The Sharia law, they were practicing the Sharia law of Jesus. كانوا يبنون الصوامع. They used to erect huts. أي بيوتا خفيفة, meaning light houses, من طين, made of clay. أو من غير ذلك, or made of something else. على المواضع المنعزلة عن البلد. And they would do that in places secluded from the town. ليتجردوا للعبادة, so that they would just dedicate themselves to worship. So how are you going to encounter someone like that? Because you're out somewhere for hunting or going on an adventure or for something that probably has an interesting story, and then you bump into one of these believers. Where we found stories of those, by the way. The story of Jurayj. Also, the story of the boy. This is from the time of Jesus. The story of the boy who met a monk. He used to learn from a wizard. He was a wizard's apprentice, and then he met a monk and took his shahada. And then he became a wali. And also, in the story of the boys of the cave, how they became Muslims, they met a monk. ثم جاء بعدهم أناس قلدوا أولئك مع الشرك. But then there came after them some people who imitated those, but with paganism. أي مع عبادة عيسى وأمه, meaning they outwardly practiced monasticism while worshipping Jesus and his mother. وتشبهوا بأولئك, they imitated those. بالانقطاع عن الشهوات, by refraining from desires. والعكوف في الصوامع, and by living in huts. So these are Christian monks. This means after some time, these monks of true monotheism, they died off. And there came after them monks who were mushriks, They were Christians, worshipping Jesus and his mother. لِقَوْلِهِ تَعَالَى. That's proven by this saying of Allah, which is part of the ayah we're addressing. فَمَا رَعَوْهَا حَقَّ رِعَايَتِهَا. They did not observe it its due observation, or its due observance. Who's they? They here refers to the people who came afterwards, the Christian monks. لأن هؤلاء ما التزموا بالرهبانية الموافقة لشرع عيسى. Because those people did not adhere to the monasticism that agreed to the Sharia law of Jesus. كما التزم أولئك السابقون. They didn't do like their predecessors, who really believed in the oneness of Allah. They believed that Allah exists without a place and without a direction. Those believers, did they innovate? Also, did they have, for example, some dhikr beads or something that's like some dhikr beads? I don't know, I didn't hear. But I'm just saying that to say that when Wahhabi tells you dhikr beads, that's from the Christians, that's from the Catholics. That's an assumption of theirs. Where they got it from, Allah knows where they got it from. And it's not the case that the Muslims they knew of Christians doing that, so they said, let's do like the Christians. Rather, it's even reported from Abu Hurairah, the Sahabi, that he had a string with knots in it. He used to make dhikr with it. If you want, make a string with knots in it and make dhikr with it. Maybe you'll find some benefit there. فيؤخذ من هذه الآية أن من عمل عملا لا يخالف الشرع بل يوافقه ليس بدعة مذمومة. And so it is taken from this verse that anyone who practiced a practice that's not against the law, a practice that's not against the law, rather it agrees with the law, then this is not a dispraised or blameworthy innovation. بل يثاب فاعله. Rather, the one who does it is rewarded. ويسمى سنة حسنة وسنة خير ويسمى بدعة حسنة أو بدعة مستحبة. And it would be called a good way, or a way of goodness, and it's called a good innovation or a recommended innovation.